Section 8. Failure to allow accommodations. Fair housing practice. In the market introduction, when no becomes illegal. As we continue building from prosecutable practices like blockbusting and discriminatory advertising, we now move into one of the most commonly violated areas of fair housing law: failure to allow accommodations and modifications. This is where many real estate professionals, landlords, and property managers unintentionally break the law, not because they intend to discriminate, but because they simply do not understand what they are legally required to allow. Imagine this scenario. A tenant in a wheelchair asks to install grab bars in the bathroom or widen a doorway for accessibility. A landlord immediately responds, "No, we don't allow changes to the property." That simple response, if it denies a reasonable request, could be a direct violation of federal law. Understanding reasonable accommodations and modifications. Fair housing laws require that property owners and managers allow individuals with disabilities to make reasonable changes that enable them to fully use and enjoy their home. There are two key concepts here. A reasonable accommodation is a change in rules or policies, while a reasonable modification is a physical change to the property itself. Refusing to allow these reasonable modifications, when requested and appropriate, is illegal. For example, a tenant may request modifications such as widening doorways, adjusting the height of light switches, creating accessible routes within the home, or reinforcing bathroom walls to install grab bars. These are not optional requests. They are protected rights under fair housing law. Who pays for the modifications? One of the most common questions in real estate is who is responsible for the cost of these modifications. In most rental situations, the tenant is responsible for paying for the modification. However, the property owner must still allow the modification to take place, as long as it is reasonable and properly completed. The landlord may also require that the work be done in a professional manner and, in some cases, request that the property be restored to its original condition at the end of the lease. This creates a balance between protecting the tenant's rights and preserving the property owner's investment. False denial of availability, a hidden violation. Another serious violation tied to fair housing is false denial of availability. This occurs when an agent or landlord tells a prospective buyer or tenant that a property is not available when it actually is. This is often done to avoid renting or selling to someone from a protected class, and it is illegal because it denies equal housing opportunity. For example, if a leasing agent tells one applicant that no units are available but rents to another applicant shortly after, this could be evidence of discrimination. In one real case, a prospective tenant was told that no apartments were available, only to later see the same property advertised again. The resulting fair housing complaint led to a significant financial settlement. This highlights how even a single misrepresentation can lead to serious legal consequences. Predatory lending, when financing becomes exploitation. Fair housing protections extend beyond just buying and renting. They also apply to lending practices. Lenders are prohibited from denying loans or services based on protected classes such as race, color, national origin, religion, sex, or familial status. However, discrimination in lending is not always obvious. Sometimes it takes the form of predatory lending, where borrowers are misled, overcharged, or denied information that would allow them to make informed decisions. For example, a lender may fail to inform a borrower that loan terms are negotiable, resulting in higher fees or interest rates than necessary. In another situation, a broker may misrepresent a borrower's creditworthiness to justify unfavorable loan terms. These practices disproportionately affect less experienced or vulnerable borrowers and are considered both unethical and, in many cases, illegal. Redlining, discrimination based on location. Redlining is another major violation tied to fair housing and lending practices. It refers to the act of denying loans, insurance, or financial services based on the location of a property, often targeting neighborhoods with higher minority populations. Historically, lenders would draw red lines on maps to indicate areas they considered high risk, effectively cutting off those communities from access to financing. Today, redlining is illegal, but its effects can still be seen in certain markets. Laws such as the Home Mortgage Disclosure Act, HMDA, require lenders to report loan data to ensure transparency and prevent discriminatory patterns. For real estate professionals, this means being aware of how lending practices impact your clients and ensuring that all individuals have equal access to financing opportunities. Connecting accommodations and lending to your role. As an agent, you are often the first point of contact for clients navigating housing and financing decisions. This places you in a unique position of responsibility. You must understand when a request is reasonable, ensure clients are treated fairly, and recognize potential violations when they occur. This includes allowing and supporting reasonable accommodation requests, ensuring accurate representation of property availability, guiding clients toward fair and transparent lending practices, recognizing signs of discrimination or fraud. In 2026, compliance is not just about avoiding penalties, it is about protecting your clients and building trust in every transaction. Online discussion. Question 1. What is the difference between a reasonable accommodation and a reasonable modification? Answer. A reasonable accommodation is a change in policy or rules, while a reasonable modification is a physical change to the property. Question 2. What is false denial of availability? Answer. It is when a property is falsely represented as unavailable to prevent a protected class from accessing housing. Question 3. Why is redlining illegal? Answer. Because it discriminates against individuals based on where they live, often targeting protected classes and limiting access to financial services.